Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you're tuning in from. This is the BS Buddies podcast. I'm your host, Joe. That is your host, Ian. Ian, would you like to tell the good people what we are doing today?
So today we've got a shaky camera that I'm trying to keep set correctly. And we have some Reddit stories for you guys. Am I the a-hole? Because as we all know, being an a-hole is worse than being a b-hole. And we've got some wonderful stories lined up for you to read. Sorry, I'm grabbing my coffee while I'm thinking, and it's doing two things at once. My brain starts to lag out a little bit, so I had to kind of recollect my thoughts there. But we've got some good ones for you guys today. We'll make our judgments on the situation, and obviously you guys are welcome to make your judgments on the situation as well. Let us know in the comments below. Do you think these people are the a-holes?
Last time we did this, I think we did like 4 or 5 stories, and we thought everyone was in the right and that they weren't the a-hole. So we're hoping to find some people who
are the a-holes. I do feel whenever we come and whenever I read these stories, or am I the asshole, I always there's like a bit of a, I don't want to say a disconnect, but like a dissonance, because obviously the person who posts on the subreddit is the one who feels like they might be wrong. And so the way that they explain things from their side of the story, whether you realize it or not, everyone has an unconscious bias to talk about things in their favor, because that's the way we are as humans, as people. So sometimes I always wonder, I'm like, I wonder if I had an outside view of the situation, like a fly on the wall, would my opinion change here, But that's neither here nor there. That's just something that always rides in the back of my mind whenever we read these stories. So we'll see if some of these people are honest about their situations and their actions, or maybe they're, maybe they're right and they just feel bad. I guess we'll see.
For the first one, am I the A for telling my mother about what my sister was doing with her friends, causing her to get kicked out?
Let's look at these good ones.
19, male, I don't know this dude's name, don't live with my mother, and my sister Jessica, and the sister is 18, but the mom and sister live together. The brother does not.
OP has his own place.
I came to the flat to keep Jessica company, as she wasn't apparently coping well with living alone. It looks like their mom was going through something, so she wasn't home constantly.
Yeah, currently the mom is staying somewhere else, and it looks like the sister is living in the mom's apartment on her own currently. Brother goes over there to keep her company. Also, it's worth noting that he says his sister does not pay any kind of rent or bills of that matter.
The first thing I noticed when I walked in was a boy I never met in Jessica's bedroom sleeping in her bed. I was shocked but let it slide, because I literally only just walked in the door after a 2-hour journey, and he went home later anyways. The next day, Mom called and asked Jessica to let her know if people are staying over. She didn't know the boy was there. She's just feeling uneasy or something. I don't know, was the quote.
Sure.
Or if they're in the house, and Jessica decided to argue with her over it instead of just accepting and apologizing. So after Mom hung up, I lectured her before we went on with our day. A little while later, we planned to go to a club, and Jessica invited 2 friends over for pre-game drinks without telling Mom I didn't know this. And they were hanging out in her room while I was playing games in the lounge. I eventually bought my entry ticket and went to Jessica's room to tell her when I noticed a massive cloud of ganja smoke hanging in the air of the room.
The wacky tobacco.
I was in disbelief and pretty much immediately called Mom to inform her, and she went mental. Jessica decided to argue with Mom about kicking the friends out, so Mom eventually broke and told Jessica that she's kicking her out and she's going to have to stay with our father, who isn't.
I don't know. This
I don't
person
know
has
who
not
that
been
is.
mentioned into the story up to this point.
I think she. Oh, Jessica's sister. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, she
Yeah.
got kicked out and had to move in with someone. Jessica's fuming and isn't talking to me, and I feel really bad, but I honestly was gonna go ballistic at her friends myself for the lack of respect, but I still want to know if I did anything wrong.
You know, I'm gonna say, particularly in this case, as much as a lot of people are agreeing, is that you are not the a-hole in this situation. Um, I know some people out there would probably claim, "Oh, you're a narc for ratting," but honestly, you know what I think of is that oh God, what's his name? What's his name? The one with the good voice. He plays God in Bruce Almighty. Why can't I remember his name?
Morgan Freeman?
Yes, Morgan Freeman. My God, why that's just it's a bad day. It's a really bad day if I don't remember Morgan Freeman. Take that one out of context for a short there, Joe. It's a really bad day if I don't remember Morgan Freeman. I wake up in the morning and his name doesn't pop into my head. It's just I might as well give up, go back to sleep. It's not gonna be a good day. I think of that quote from Morgan Freeman from what's it, Shawshank Redemption, maybe, where he's talking about there's a snitch and a rat. And he's like, snitches are not inherently bad. It just means that the criminals were sloppy. But a rat, he gains your trust and betrays you. And in this case, the quote unquote criminals, your sister and her friends, they were sloppy. I mean, why would you, if you get invited over to someone's place, you're like, oh yeah, don't worry, my mom's not home. And you think it's okay to just bark it up right there in the bedroom in the house? And you're going to just put that everywhere? Like, I obviously we can't control what people do, but like, man, at least go find like a back alley or a dirt road. I've something, anything other than just in the place where you're residing, where you don't pay any bills and the owner of the, residence is not currently living there. This is just rude. It's just not common decency in my opinion. So no,
my
you
my big thing about it is like, 18-year-olds. Yeah, I mean, they. I was never into it. Still am not, but like I know people who were, and that just seems something common that would probably happen. But to be called out and then to argue, even though you're in the wrong, and continuing arguing, that's
yeah.
not okay with me. I don't necessarily think the brother is in the wrong.
No.
But
Well,
yeah,
and
I mean,
especially
he did say like if he didn't let the mom know, he was going to go ballistic. So at least he's like, I'm going to find an adult for them to handle the situation. I mean, he's 19, but like find someone with more experience. This isn't my place to live. Like, let them deal with it.
and even if you want to look at it from outside the purview of the morality of, oh, technically an adult, 18, blah blah blah, whatever, the sister is not paying any kind of bills, any kind of rent. It's not your residence. You don't own it. You are getting a free ride to live there, and you have the disrespect to bring something like that into the house, not even by your own hand, but by your friend's hands. Like, no, I totally understand where the brother's coming from, and that is absolutely ridiculous to think that his sister has such a big ego that, oh, not only one am I bringing people into this place that my parents don't know about, but two, we're also doing illicit substances behind closed doors inside the residence. No, if you were paying for your own apartment, had your own place to stay, all right, that's one thing. I can't control what you do behind closed doors. You're paying the bills, you deal with the consequences. But this affects more than just her. because if like law enforcement had got involved, that's coming down on the homeowner as well, not just the person who did it, the homeowner, because now they're going to be looking at you going, oh, well, what else do you do behind closed doors? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
no, that's absolutely correct, and it's good on the brother to be like, hey, you should come and get your daughter, she's being a freaking bonehead.
We're
Yeah,
gonna
no, I
we're gonna
100%
move
agree with
on.
that.
We both agree. Brother probably did the right thing.
Oh yeah.
Am I the A for doing childproofing for my in-laws visit? I don't know what this means, and I'm excited to read what this means.
I am very much as well. I would like to would you like to keep reading them, or do you want to pass off the reading? It's up to you.
I can read at least this one.
Very well.
I am a 26-year-old female, and my husband is 29-year-old male. We have been married for 5 years, and we to Berlin. We went to Berlin right after marriage since we both found really well-paying jobs.
I'm
Meanwhile, both
guessing
of our
moved.
meanwhile both of our families still live back in Greece, and we usually visit back occasionally. Okay, so there's going to be a little bit of English problems, but that's okay. They're not from an English-speaking.
Second language, it's all right. We get
Yeah.
it. It's complicated.
I mean, they're doing pretty good so far. Now, me and my husband don't have any children, and we don't plan to have any. Okay. Childproofing.
Alright.
Okay, let's.
Interesting. We're
we are
well,
three sentences in.
gonna say the same thing.
We enjoy buying expensive things and experiencing things we never got to as children, such as nice furniture in our home, going to exotic restaurants with friends, travel, hobbies, and generally just our lives with each other exactly the way it is. Also, I apologize. I'm trying to fix some of the English and it's not working out great. But that's just how my husband thinks. His family is very traditional and every married couple has at least one kid. This time my husband invited my brother-in-law and sister-in-law to visit us with their 3-year-old son for 2 weeks. This would be the first time they've traveled with their son and the first time we would be hosting our nephew at our home. Now, our nephew is known to be going through the terrible twos and has been throwing tantrums and breaking things lately, so I did some childproofing in our home a day before my in-laws were due to arrive. I removed all the glass and ceramic decor. I swapped out our linen tablecloth for a plastic one. I locked up our intoxication devices.
I like the way that's put. That's very wonderfully put. This is my intoxication device.
That's the
Raise 2
children in
lips,
the room.
tip back.
I also covered our sofas with a plushy fabric cover. Our sofa's fabric is white cashmere because nephew likes to snack while watching TV and we can always take it outside and dust off food crumbs. I also changed my maid's schedule to come in 5 days a week instead of 3 so she can help prep breakfast and make sure the house is tidy. However, when my husband saw all of my changes, he got kind of upset. Oh my goodness. He kind of got upset. That messed with my head. He told me he felt that I was preparing our house as if we were hosting messy and uncivilized people, and asked me why I don't make these changes when our friends in Berlin who have kids come over for dinner. He also said that he's never seen our friends make these sort of changes in their own home for their kids. I don't understand this comparison at all. Coming over for dinner for 3 hours and staying at a place for a couple of weeks is very different. And we've visited our in-laws enough to see how chaotic their home can get to the point where my brother-in-law and sister-in-law keep mostly plastic items in their homes for convenience. There is an edit. We hadn't spoke since we had our fight last night, and my in-laws are supposed to be landing in the morning. My husband brought food from a restaurant I liked and told me he wanted to apologize. He told me he overreacted because he wasn't admitting to himself how different his brother is as a person ever since he became a dad, and that his life is going in a very different direction with more financial hardships too, and that makes him angry and helpless. He told me he misdirected his frustration at me and thought what I did was really nice, especially since he is more finicky about than I am. Tried my best to make him feel not guilty and responsible for the lives and decisions of other grown ups, but I'm so relieved he came around on his own.
It's nice. I'm glad that he came around and recognized that, maybe he went a little far with it. I guess just still thinking in the vein of it, obviously it comes down to whether or not the brother-in-law and the sister-in-law are offended. But I mean, yeah, from a perspective of like being in a home and like granted, we rent the house that we stay in, but I still don't like to be messy and just have no care for things. So I mean, yeah, I mean if you have like it sounds like this person has some like fine china, some nice dishes and plates and like nice tablecloth, nice looking couch, like yeah, by all means, if it costs a lot of money, children are messy. Children are messy. They break things. They leave. That's what they do. But like, it's okay because we understand that they're children. However, there's also nothing wrong with taking some precautions to just be like, hey, we have some nice stuff in our home. We don't mind having you over. I'm just gonna, put our nice things maybe a shelf or two up higher and cover our nice sofa because if I have a nice sofa, I don't want a toddler to spill his juice on there. Cool. Now you got a pink stain in that corner of the mattress forever. Like, you know what I mean? I don't see anything wrong with that at all. And I'm glad that the husband finally came around. And I guess it depends on, yeah, whether or not the brother and sister in law are offended by it. But I mean, once again, in that case, it's not your home. Like, you can do what you want to do in the comfort of your own home. That's cool. But other people have their home as well. And seems like these folks are still being nice enough to be like, yeah, come on in. Like, we'll just make sure that we don't have anything nice out that the child can break. And I always think it's hilarious when people can't admit to themselves that children have a knack and a tendency to break things and make messes. That's in fact one of the staple things that children are known to do is break things and make messes. So
For me, I don't know why, but it bothers me a little bit the extent she's going. I guess for me, I can't see what they have and all their fancy stuff. I've never had fancy stuff. It's more, my family has been like, yeah, there's going to be kids around, like something might break. But yeah, I understand like the fine china if you want to lock that up. Um,
yeah,
the couch, I understand too, but it's like going from like linen tablecloth to plastic. That's just like such a shift. It's like it's a tablecloth. It's supposed to keep the table clean. Like, if
I
anything,
mean,
just
true.
lift up the one end so the adults can enjoy the linen. Just have the kid on the end of the table. I don't know. For me, it just bothers me. Probably a little too much.
I don't know.
The
And I'd like
extent.
I'd like to point out that like I'm also a messy person myself. I would have no qualms. Just be like, yeah, everything in here. Sometimes stuff gets messy, but like I said, I get it. And granted, this is Europe too. Culture is different and customs are different and things, how they like to keep stuff clean. So I think, I mean, as far as like she just says that she puts like a plushy fabric cover on the sofa and, a plastic tablecloth. Yeah, that's easier to clean. Sure, it might be a little weird, but they're only staying with you a couple weeks. It makes sense. So I don't particularly see anything too terribly wrong with it. Like, yeah, it might be a little extra in some places, I guess, but once again, it's your own home. Who am I to tell you what to do or not to do in your own home? Like I don't think it's too. Now, if she was like, oh, I went around, I put bubble wrap on every door, and I put plastic drop sheets on the floor, and yeah, I made sure that the only cups in the house are plastic sippy cups. Like, okay, then I'd be like, all right, you're doing a little much here. Like, you can relax. But I think from the few that they've described is like yeah, just some basic measures to cover some stuff up. Then whatever, sure. I'm gonna say not the asshole in this case.
Well, we'll do one more because this one looks like a big one. Yeah, kinda. This one's this one looks interesting.
Yeah. Which one did you pick?
My I don't know what this acronym is, but my VA, if I tell my husband's ex she has to move out.
Oh, the would I be the a-hole?
Oh. I,
Wibta.
I
Ooh.
35 female, have been married to my husband, 37 male, for 1 year, but we've been together for 3. He has 2 children from his previous relationship, and we don't have any kids together. Their mom, Anne, 34, who has 1 other child. So this mom, Anne, has 3 kids with 2 different guys, looks like. They have a
Yes.
good co parenting relationship, and Anne and I get along. Last week, when Anne picked up the kids, we have week on, week off. She told us that the kids might need to spend a few weeks with us because her and her current husband are getting a divorce. Interesting. The house is in his name. He had it when they got together, and she's been a stay at home mom for their whole relationship. She said she was going to stay with her sister, but they don't have enough room for all 3 kids. I jumped in before my husband could say anything and offered her the guest room and told her the girls can share a room here, just like they do at her house. That way she didn't have to miss her time with the kids, and we could help with her daughter while she gets a job and gets things figured out. She thanked us and said she'd let us know when she would be moving out as soon as she could. My husband asked me if I was 100% okay with it and that it would be fair to get her in here and then have an issue later. I told him I was okay and we'd work through anything that comes up. That was 3 months ago. She's lived with us for 2 months now and everything is great. It's actually better than great if I'm being honest, okay? Having her here means I don't have to take both kids to the store if I need something for dinner. Housework is divided between 3 people. She's gotten a job and isn't having to pay for childcare, which is about $700 a week in our area. Even though I told her she didn't have to, she is giving us $500 a month for bills. I was talking to my sister and cousin at our early Thanksgiving, and my sister said I'm crazy for letting her stay with us. That I'm, quote, devaluing myself as a partner and being an a-hole to myself, end quote, for allowing this to continue. My cousin agrees with her. She said the only reason his ex would agree to stay is if she still wanted to sleep with him, and him agreeing means he wants it too. I don't see them behaving any differently than before, and I truly trust my husband. But now I'm starting to doubt my decision. Would I be the A if I tell her she needs to find somewhere else to live? Am I the A to myself if I don't listen to them and let her stay? There is an update. I can read it now or after.
I'd say just read the update now. We'll just get it all in one and then go.
Okay. The update. Thank you for all your comments. You're right. This isn't the first time I've let my older sister's comments get into my head. I sent her a text and told her that my household isn't her concern. And if she doesn't trust the man in her life, she should focus on her own. Thanks for the reality check. Anne is dying over the number of sister wives comments. Have a good evening and happy holidays to everyone.
Wow,
Whoa.
that was. Holy schmoly, there was a whole lot of that going on there. Oh my gosh.
So, I don't feel like this is any of my business getting into.
I feel unclean reading that one. I think in this case,
I don't think she's the a-hole to herself. I mean, it's
no.
like you're being nice.
Kindness is a wonderful thing, and I will definitely say that there is nothing wrong with at least being alert and aware of changes in the relationship. However, I do also feel that it's one of those things that, like, don't let this situation turn into an indefinite, whereas like, oh, my ex-wife is just going to live with us forever now. Like, obviously you're extending a hand to her in difficult times, and right now it's working out great for you, and that's fantastic. Don't listen to your cousin and your sister, because they are obviously negative Nancy's who can't fathom doing anything nice for anyone in their life or trusting people. But on the other hand, I do think that they do bring up a good point of, like, I would say, if I was in this situation, give like a hard timeline of like, hey, listen, we really appreciated having you here. Can we say, like, by the 1 year mark, you'll find a place for yourself, Because eventually I could see it maybe getting stressful. Right now it's going great, fantastic. If it's going great, there's no reason to change things. But also understand that, there are boundaries too. And yeah, eventually I'm sure there'll come a point where you're like, okay, kind of wish we had the house to just me and him now. You know what I mean? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Like for me, I can put myself in their position a bit because I'm living with my future stepdaughter, future wife. And in my head, I could not imagine living with her dad in the same space. Like I I don't think it would go, like I would just immediately say no. So for her to even be like, you need a helping hand for a bit, I got you. Like honestly, me, I could not do that. Me personally, I think it's
It
very
is
big of
very.
her, and like preparing for me getting married. This one hit me harder than I thought it would. It's me preparing for marrying my future wife. Like we've talked about like loyalty and sticking together because she's had relationships in the past that have not worked out in her family. So I think the wife is like really saying like this is how much I trust you.
Yeah,
Do not abuse that trust. So
I
I
would.
I think that all in all that's I think it's really big of her. I just don't think that I could do it myself.
Yeah, it's very generous of her, and obviously this woman has a very big heart to be able to willing to let her in. And if things are going great, that's fantastic. I will say, now her sister and her cousin slinging unfounded accusations, that is completely something
They
else
are the
entirely. However, I will say that concern is not unfounded in that, don't if I would be able to say something to this woman, I'd be like, "Hey, it's wonderful you have a big heart. Just also, make sure that you're not going to get taken advantage of. Some people
yeah.
can get really comfortable in the way things are, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, a year and a half down the road, you're kind of hoping to have the house to yourself, and this woman won't leave. You know what I mean? Granted, I hope that's not the case. I hope everything goes well for you. Just keep a big heart, but also don't let yourself get taken advantage of, because then it's not going to be helping anybody.
Yeah, at least like telling the ex like, "Hey, like we might just want to live by ourselves at some point." Like just so if that's what they want to do. Like at
Can
least
we help? Can we help you find a place of your own? Should you want one? Because we, eventually might want some privacy in our home. Can we help you find a place of your own? I can see that.
yeah. And then for her to mic drop her sister and cousin. It's
Yeah,
like
if you
worry
can't.
about your own home and your own
Yeah.
man.
And I mean, there's a way to bring up concerns like that, but tactfully and respectfully, and not going, the only reason she wants to be there is because she wants to sleep with your husband. It's like, that's quite a lot to just
Yeah.
accuse
That's
somebody of. Do you have any kind of proof
like
for this?
I
Like,
understand your concern for that, but it's probably better to just say like, "Hey, I'm concerned that something might happen between your husband and his ex." Saying it like that is better than you're an a-hole for wanting to do this.
Yeah, and just slinging it out there, and that's
Like
like,
she didn't think about that.
and I mean, once you say your piece like that, once you say, "Hey, here are my concerns, X, Y, and Z," you leave it at that. Then that's it. Then whatever happens after that, you said your piece, you gave your warning, and this woman will have to deal with the consequences of whatever she decides after that. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
so
say
best of
here in this
luck.
case, not the asshole. You
Yeah.
would not be the asshole, but your sister and her cousin
Yeah,
maybe
we
need to
found
check a
one.
little bit.
They
We found
definitely
one,
were.
but the
It
asshole was
wasn't.
just not the person we expected.
Uh, but we are out of time for today, except for our quotes.
Oh yeah.
So we'll do, for me, Ernest Hemingway. In order to write about life, first you must live it.
Ooh. And you know what? I'll give you one here that to go compliment with that. The man who lets himself be bored is even more contemptible than the bore. Find a hobby, whether it be woodworking or trying to paint an old dresser like I'm doing right now after
Or
I sanded it down.
or podcasting.
Yeah, we are podcasting. That's our hobby.
But thank you guys for tuning in. I should be relatively back at full strength within the next week or so. So we'll do some more improv here soon. And yeah, we'll go from there. And Ian, do you have any last words?
And we'll see you guys next time when we find some more a-holes to judge. Because that's what
Yeah.
we're good at.
Become a bud today, subscribe, follow, and all that fun stuff.
And until next time, take her easy.